All right, welcome back to the Conquest Corner. On this particular episode, we are going to talk both the product catalog and the changes that they're doing on May 12th. I'm also probably going to get a little into what to do while you wait, because I always find I was actually this week ended up being much busier than I thought. But originally, I intended to get a game of Conquest in last week, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm really excited to play." Once the changes came, they were announced the changes, I should say, and a lot of people were like, "Man, I'm really excited to play after the 12th." So we'll get into that a little bit as well. Keep in mind, if you're looking to pick up anything for Conquest, we do have a discount code in the show notes, or sorry, in the link below. It's in the show notes as well. String Kicker saves you 10%, helps us out as well. But let's not waste very much time because I tend to already talk a lot as is. I do apologize for a bit of delay. I did want to record something early last week, but having like a weird, not quite a sore throat thing. I think it's like allergies or just a change in weather's become much drier, and that does tend to bug me a little bit. So I essentially just tried to avoid talking more than I already do for my job, where I talk for a living. All right, so let's take a look at this catalog. Some very exciting things. We're going to go through the catalog. We're going to talk about it, but I do want to get into the updates as well, because I think that is definitely a big thing of interest, although the stuff they showed is great. Now, we've already seen the Damashi. They showed it to us. You can see the pre-orders on their website and all. But you get to see them a little bit closer, and we do know they did some alterations to them. Effectively, when they did this, they said they're just too cool. I guess they were worried that what they did wasn't quite enough to get enough of them out there, enough of them play. Like maybe I should do this one instead. Actually, I remember one of the videos I did when we were going over Uroni, which Uroni are going to have some changes. Of course they are. When we were going over Uroni, it was a back and forth of them versus Origami Warriors. No, they do not fit exactly the same thing. They do things a little bit differently. They have somewhat better strengths or weaknesses, or somewhat similar in cases and all of that. But if you were looking at, hey, you're going to take your light unit or you're going to take multiple, it was really a toss-up, I think. I think with the changes they've done, I like the Damashi already. I like Origami Warriors for different reasons. I absolutely like these guys. And for the changes, let's just talk about them very briefly here. They're staying the same exact cost. They are a little faster, which I like my lights to be very fast. The whole point in my lights is either to get me a reinforcement line. And keep in mind, if all you do is move up 12, then if your move is only, say, a 6 coming from the side, you're really probably not getting ahead. If you're if you're a 2 wide, like Uroni can do, you can. Not by much, but you can a little bit. But if you're 3 wide, you're not actually getting further ahead. This, however, moving up to 14, now you can actually start getting a little bit of a bonus there. Plus, you're a little bit faster to go engage something that is either shooting me, will become a problem, or I don't want to deal with right now. Get in your way is essentially what I often, for a light like this, is what they want to do. They made them better at attacking. They were 4 attacks. They're now 6, so now they actually get to swing and do something. They gave them extra wound. They're on 4 wounds. They also gave them flurry. So, and these ones do have impact, unlike the Origami Warriors. They're the only unit, I think, in the army that doesn't impact. Shigagami probably don't, but who cares? They're garbage. I want to see what they do with them. My hope is they make them good, because I'm sure they're going to be cool looking. I wouldn't run them unless I was actively teaching someone who's new, or doing something where we're kind of playing down. But they actually made them able to fight. Realistically, they can truly fight now. And they did a little bit more for their survivability. We already knew that you can shoot through them, but your opponent cannot shoot through you. However, they now, if they're going to be targeted by volley, they get tenacious too. The few times I've taken them, I've played, I think 3 of my 6 or 7 games have had a unit of Damashian. I've only ever taken 1 unit. I usually have taken them in 4-packs. I like them in a 4-pack, at least previously. I like them in a 4-pack because for 180 points, I'm getting the extra stand because I want those 4 more wounds. Because, 1, a wider blocking is better for me. Remember, you look from the stand, you look from the middle, but you're looking from the stand. And if I'm only 3 wide, if I'm not positioned quite correctly, or depending on where you are, you have an easier time of seeing around me. 4 wide, now I can essentially block a lot more. I can shoot through it. And I'm just going to be easier to get in your way. The other reason I took them at 4, though, was because at 4 wounds, if I'm running up to go do something, to get in your way to cause an aggravation, you can shoot me while I'm coming in. I'm, defense 2? I was easily going to lose 4 wounds. I was going to lose a stand coming in. That extra, and potentially losing more than just 1. Going to 5 wounds, and with that Tenacious 2 means I'm much more likely, if I go with 4, to have 4, or if I go with 3 to have those 3. I don't know if right now, with the way they are, if I feel as compelled that I had to push a unit of 4 to kind of get what I envisioned them to do. I think now a unit of 3 probably could, and even if they only ever get, say, 2 later to swing back, they're now the same attacks at essentially 3 stands used to be with Flurry, so they're better in every way. I think that's great. I'm absolutely picking up some boxes of these guys. I've been running them in 4s, so I'm probably going to end up getting 2 just because I want to have the option for 4. But now I think if I have 1, when I have some stuff like this, sometimes it bothers me to paint all 6 at once because I get tired of doing it. So sometimes I'll do 3, then another 3. But I do feel the 3 I could be happy with. Origami Warriors. Very interested with how they came out. Not exactly what I had in mind. I don't know exactly what I had in mind, but I was a little bit surprised in general. I will say this up close, I think, does look better than on the web store. On the web store, I'll be honest, I did not like their paint look at all, the way they're painted. Here I do like a little bit more. I'm still not huge on it. It almost looks a little bit dirty. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to paint them. I might try to go for more vibrant origami paper colors. I haven't truly decided, but I like the pieces in general. The Damashi are definitely better looking. But Origami Warriors have a point. I've been running them mostly as little 2-packs. Get into someone's face, hit that early round gold tier beast packs, hit their Fenrir beast packs, hit the lights that they're going to rush at you, Mori, whatever it may happen to be, and give them, slow them down for a turn and give them some damage with, lethal hits. Overall, I do like them. I'm probably only going to get like 1 pack, where the other ones I definitely want more. But I don't know, maybe when I paint them up, I'll feel a little differently. The monsters, so I remember they showed us this before, and I know I've talked about it. I will be honest, I kind of like the look of the Dai Yokai better. I like the rules of the Genyo no Yokai more, because I've now played them a few times. Again, rules may change. On the 12th, they're going to change, but currently, I like the other one better. I do like the look of this one a little bit more. I have great concern about that one connection. My hope, and I don't know if this is true, we can see a little bit of basing here. My hope is that's actually attached to the bottom of the foot. And so then it spreads out nicely to help put this weight. I know he's plastic, but I definitely have some concerns of top heaviness with this model. I'm just hoping, they made a great looking model. I'm just hoping he's positioned in such a way that his weight is very central and he's not kind of pushed off to one side where he's going to want to tip. But we'll have to see about that. He was fun. I ran him in my last game. I ran him another time before, but the Genya, I just have a bigger fan of. I think I kind of like the other look a little bit more. This one gets a little crazed. It's still good, but I do like the fact that it has multiple touch points now, so it is much more sturdy and stable. And at least for my transportation purposes, that means quite a bit. Kind of like this head option more than the other one. That's quite good. I'm interested to see painted up, especially when they do it, what exactly all the sort of, cavalcade of souls in the arm will end up looking like. But we'll see. I'm probably going to end up going with that one either way. Okay, the Mahatsu and the Geisha they showed us. They've already showed us these things. I'm personally not a fan of spiders. I don't have arachnophobia or anything like that, but I'm not big on spiders. And here's just a bunch of spiders. It makes sense lore-wise and like historical-wise, so I get it. But this is probably a piece that when I'm painting, I will probably have to paint in the back of the house. My wife will not like that in the front of the house. When I might have actually put this up here before, but I know at one point when I was painting some of my Tomb King scorpions, one was sitting there on the table, and later on she, like free driving mode because she thought it was an actual bug, and then she realized it was something I was painting. So yeah, I know it has a lady on the front, but I might be painting in pieces. If I don't have her on the front, I probably have to put that somewhere else. But um, I didn't get to try the Mahatsu. I have tried the Geisha. I do think the Geisha is quite good. I do want to try the Mahatsu more, but I don't know. It's a little bit off to me, the fact that spider, and you can actually kind of see the actual spider's face there. But that's fine. Here's my favorite sort of thing. Now here's a really great looking model. The Pterodon. Or Terafon. Terafon probably. When I look at this, they talked about how, like, yeah, this is essentially a guy is put into it and he's pretty much stuck there for life. So that is actually the guy in it there. But it reminds me very much of like a horseshoe crab. Sort of the back plates and everything like that. But okay, his face and all is fine. I don't mind the underlook, but I think the profile above the top and sort of that almost, like I said, horseshoe crab crustacean, sort of winged flying like dinosaur almost look, or dragon sort of look is amazing. I really, really do like that one. Now, what's interesting is the one they had showed us, or was in the rules mentioned before, that wasn't out yet, was, I think it was a brute. Yeah, Terafons were brutes. Now, this one isn't a base Terafon. This one, where is it? This is a Terafon Surveyor. So I'm curious, is that, they put it in red, so I guess that is brand new. I guess at some point we'll see the other form. I'm hoping, I guess it would just be a smaller version of this. I guess we'll wait and see exactly what that is. But for this particular great looking model here, they actually just today have told us some of the rules for it. So 170 points, so it's at a good point level for a medium monster. Move 8, so nice and fast. Volley 3, we're going to notice it's Barrage 10 at 12 inches. He has some impact. It's a regular, so he's not going to help you with your reinforcement line, but that's good. 10 attacks on 15 wounds. He's 3s and 3s with a 2 on the evade. Clash of 2, so he's better at shooting than fighting. He doesn't have a huge amount of attacks. He has essentially as many shooting as he does close combat, so he's pretty good at doing that. His Eye in the Sky. So once the regiment's activation is complete, you may choose to immediately draw your next command card and reveal it. If the command card belongs to a regiment that is arriving from reinforcements this round, you may immediately activate them and give them Vanguard. So, you want him in. Once he is in, pick one of your units that's about to come on. He's a medium, so you could auto him on the turn 2. You get some of your other mediums. You probably, let's assume you don't get all of your mediums, your Spire, so you're probably running a decent amount of mediums. In general, you're probably just running that. Anyway, but that means that round, and hopefully round 3 as well, 2 of your units get to go 4 inches faster. If we're taking a look, they've told us a little bits of changes. Banners, at least for them, for Spires, are going to free. They're kind of going to free for everyone. But I'm looking at, say like Avatar, now a little bit faster. Keep in mind, it can be round 3 when your heavy comes on. You just have to time when this guy goes. The round he comes on, that's a nice and easy timing. A later round, he's much faster, so he might be in a position to want to do something early. Hey, now you can slow roll the rest of the army if you want, or slow roll for a moment, because you can have a unit that's coming on go next, who weren't going to really affect anything anyway, because just come onto the board. So, I mean, if it's a shooting unit, something like that, maybe now you're a little bit closer, so sort of thoughts. Friendly regiments within 8 inches roll 2d6 and pick the highest when determining their charge distance. Wow. So this guy's a monster, so he's on a monster base. 8 inches off a monster base is a huge amount of space. Monster bases are giant. They're like 4 inches wide. Do I have any around me right now? Not that I can see, but maybe I should check that. All right, yeah, so I did just check. They are just about 4 inches wide. They're actually a little bit bigger. So with that in an 8-inch bubble, that's about a 10-inch diameter, 10-inch radius circle. You're covering a huge swath of the board. And when I'm looking at this, trying to make sure that I get my rolls. So currently, actually, so you pick the roll 2 and pick the highest when determining charge distance. So if you have banner and reroll, I would assume for the moment, I'm sure they'll maybe specify this otherwise. Then would you roll 2 You pick the highest, you don't like it, you roll 2 again. So effectively you're getting 4 dice at it. Because now if I need that 5 or maybe even 6 charge, I don't feel bad trying. And I'll say, as on just a general reroll with Unstoppable, I've needed a 2 on charges and missed it. So it's really going to help out quite a lot. And Pharaoh Trails. Terafon gains access to the Pheromone Gland Burst, Induce Lethargy, and Mind Flesh actions, as listed on the Pheromancer and Biomancer army abilities, or entries. Performs one of them. So, okay. All right, so just make sure it's clear what that can do then. Mend Flesh is the heal. So 8 inches, pretty much all of this 8 inches. Heal someone for 2 wounds. Induce Lethargy, hey, in 8 inches, -1 to their defense until end of round. And Pheromone Gland Burst, again, with 8 inches, gets +1 to March or Resolve until the end of the round. So it gets it, I believe it said as an action. Yeah, the actions. So it's assuming it is an action. If it is an action, then you could always do one of those abilities to buff someone. Say you're already in a good spot. That's pretty good. You could induce lethargy, lower their defenses, fire into them, and then you are giving buffs to the next unit that wants to go charge into them. Absolutely great. Love it. And it is an awesome looking model. So that helps. All right, Chosen of War, they have very tiny heads. I'm not huge on these, but the Woodrune stuff, if it's not a dinosaur, I'm just not huge on it. I do think they're nice. One of the Chosens being a big hulking brute is good. I do think the rest of the body looks very nice. I just think the heads are a little bit tiny. I don't know. I get it, but it's just not for me personally. We do know they got some Woodrune stuff, so we're going to talk about that shortly. Zion of Death, so we have that. Resin, so this is not actually the Artisan series. The Sign of War is the Artisan series. I think the Artisan, the Sign of War looks a little over the top to me. On him, okay, his head's again a little bit small. It looks, at least from this angle, very far forward, so that's okay. Maybe on the other ones they're more forward as well, so maybe it's all right. The little, they remind me almost of fans. I know that's not what they are. But it's a little bit over the top for me. The Sign of Death, though, I do like, the sort of this blind, lady and everything like that. But that's all right. Actually, what we should maybe talk about is a little bit of the Wadrune stuff they've mentioned then. All right, let's briefly go over some of the Wadrune changes that they've shown. Now, once all this drops, I'm going to go through and do deep dives on every little bit, discussing all the changes, thoughts on everything. But so for this, I just want to kind of briefly talk about it. I don't want this to be the long video discussing all the details, because I'm going to do a long video later discussing all the details. But let's just talk about a few of the biggest changes. One of the ones they mentioned here is Chant of the Battle Cry. It used to be get rid of your markers. Now it's getting rid of 2. The reason that matters is below they tell us, right down here, chants now have a tier 1. So chant abilities now trigger in addition to chant effects rather than replacing them. You'll notice here in red, hey, you sometimes have a special rule, you get both. You used to actually end up getting that instead. Now, slingers, you would always take it from the other ones. I guess maybe it's a little bit of a toss-up, but you just do that automatically anyway. This change allows to create a custom second tier for every regiment that needed one, while it's giving flexibility. That's good. They did not, as far as I know, they didn't actually show us the chart in this update. I'm curious if the chart will stay the same or alter. I think doing okay, Wadrune don't need the help. At the end of the day, they truly don't. What I would like to see happen is the units that maybe are not performing to a decent level or a suboptimal choice get useful, interesting changes. And the units that everyone is just taking no matter what because they're amazing and that's why they're winning all over the place get toned down. Call it nerfed or whatever you want, but toned down in some way. And they have done at least a little bit of toning down. Well, we don't know everything here yet. And again, I haven't looked through every little profile. I'm going to do all that later. We'll probably discuss a little bit of it now, but so they're doing that. So they're telling us specifically what you actually get for doing those bits now, which is nice. So depending on what you are, you can get some other bonuses. They talk about Thunder Riders. Thunder Riders are super, super good, and they honestly need some alteration. This is at least one useful alteration. I don't know if it does enough, but it's something. Thunder Riders essentially used to have this as automatic. They didn't have to channel Battle Cry to do it. So March Charge, you get Brutal Impact 1. +1, I should say. Now it's a chant. So now the timing actually matters. Although you can chant with less. So assuming you can get your bonus of a chant ability off of doing 2 cards, it's not that much of a difference as opposed to 3. In that sort of case, if necessary, if your Thunder Riders has a Thunder Chieftain in, I can still guarantee anytime I want to be able to get this bonus, because I'll have him go first and then he'll chain into the other unit. So, I don't know. We'll see. Tontour and Drum Beast got some changes. Resolve 4. Were they not Resolve 4 before? Were they worse Resolve? I fought against them. But I fought against the Sun, it didn't matter so much. No, they were Resolve 3. Okay, so I guess people weren't taking them enough. They dropped them both, 20 points? Or, yeah, like 20 points each. Gave them the extra Resolve. And then Dominating Presence chant for the Tontour, which Tontour is the one I like, honestly. They're both fine, but I really do like the Tontour. When Chance of Battle gets unyielding. In addition to in the round, the monster saint ignores the effect of special rules or abilities that would have it count as less stands. He already essentially had most of that. Didn't he have that almost entirely? Oh, his chant was Dominating Presence. That let him... You can get rid of 3 markers. So that one specifically was get rid of 3 markers, and then you are 2 more stands and you don't get minuses. From his unyielding, I thought he did, but I might be wrong of what if something gave him unyielding, but that's okay. Drum Beast got a nice little improvement. Quad and Wing Lord Predator lose fluid formation. That is a big hit to them, and I couldn't be happier about it. Those models, we were looking at people wanting to take, 2 Quaddles, or really Quaddle Wing Lord was sort of the option. I've seen some lists with 3. They were very, very strong. Being able to run over people, being able to rotate, run over them, as effectively, if you play your cards right, or depending on how you play, you can just stay away or charge or get into the back arcs of your opponent. They necessarily can't do anything, especially if it's a little bit later in the game. If you hold them back a few turns, your opponent's on the board, you can now run around as free. So I do like that. And hey, getting extra barrage, that's a good trade-off. So they have to line up more. It matters the way in which they position themselves, but you get a little bit of bonus for that. Although you're probably more likely. I mean, you still fly. You can still go over the top of people, but not being able to just, I ran up, you shoved forward and I'm over here. Then you rotate, do all stuff, charge me, anything like that. It's a good improvement. I'm very happy with that personally. Hunting packs, 120 points. Or hunting packs before, I don't remember. Hunting packs were 120, but they're losing a speed. Good. So far from what they've shown us, I'm seeing alterations that is helping. Maybe not a bunch, but they said they're doing this every, I think 4 months, 3 to 4 months. But they're lowering the thing that made them too good. Like Raptor Riders losing the free volley. So when they chant, they get the volley. And gained aim shot. Okay, so they volley really well when chanting, but we're going to make you have to use your rule. I don't know if that's going to do enough, but I do like the fact they tie it at least to the chant, though I'm curious if now you can chant on 2, is that necessarily doing enough? Interesting to see, but I understand they don't want to necessarily just wreck this faction either. And they give us different unit changes. They talked about different things. They changed some of the warlord abilities. They changed the chieftain's ability. Instead of being all veterans and his unit, well, no, it's just his unit now, essentially. They gave us the rules for the Scion of Death as well as the Scion of War. So they now have them listed. Again, I'm going to do a full breakdown when we see a little bit more for these, because especially for this faction, it was one thing to do it for the Spire one. Because the Spires aren't getting like huge changes per se, at least from what we know. Here you will. We'll talk about Spire Changes in a second that we do know of. But they're altering some points. They're giving them a lot more often chant abilities. So now a lot of, say, the bonuses you used to have, well, now it's coming to chance. I'm interested to see, once it's all put together, are they buffing things like Braves and Blooded enough to make them a decent choice? Because otherwise, I mean, running Jurassic Park is personally what I prefer, but that's also just me and my play style. Yeah, actually, most people are now getting enchant ability. So if you assume a few characters, a few units can almost guarantee it based off of chain activations, but other people about every other. So you could have it more often, and you'll get a decent ability more often. But I guess you're just getting the lower level, which isn't giving you nearly as much of a bonus. But it'll be interesting to see exactly what that means. Let's briefly actually talk about Spire stuff. They mentioned it. Hey, everyone gets a banner. That's nice. Other people get banners. Give them banners. Avatara. So going to 160 and 50 points a stand. I have it off to the side so I can pull this up because I don't remember the points of every single unit in this game. There were 165, so saved 5 points, saved 5 points a stand. Not a huge change, but that's enough. That helps that Superior Creations now is just 10 flat. It's not 5 per stand as it used to be. So just 10 flat. Those savings alone are going to buy that for you. When a regiment with Inspired Rule, that has the Inspired Rule, it also gains the Flawless Strike Special Rule, so Flawless Technique. So you're going to see models and things like that with that rule. That's very nice. Bound clones. So what was the cost on a bound clone? Bound clones are 120, so they're going 10 points cheaper. They are going 10 points less a stand. We're probably seeing the same thing for the Onslaught. Let me scroll and take a look at Onslaught. Onslaughts were 120. So yeah, about 10 points less. Vanguards to 140, losing about 10 points. Infiltrators, I'm going to guess, yep, another 10 points. So everyone's essentially going down 10 points. Abomination going to medium is an amazing change. The Abomination is great at what it does. Just don't ask it to do anything more. The Abomination is very good at being very quick, hitting light targets, getting into the flanks of light targets, and general low-level harassment. It's also very good at, hey, you have that objective with some small thing, it's towards the back, you expected not to be able to get into you. Well, this thing is moving 20 inches a turn, and I'm getting there. And now it can come in very early. Now you can actually get it on turn 2 if you want. At that move speed, you could actually you figure, okay, it's a turn 2, 20 move. If you're willing to move charge or even not, you're 20 inches up the board. It's a medium, not a heavy, so you could potentially come in from a side with that amount of movement, and you're only 4 inches wide. You could get further up, and then you charge into someone. Or on turn 2, set up turn 3, start slamming into the backfield turn 4 into the units that I didn't want you to get to. So love that change. Absolutely great. And they changed Unstable Enhancement. Notice it sets it now, whereas before it didn't. And Marksmen's are 20 instead of 22. I think we're going to see that for a few other factions as well. I know Sorcerer Kings are tweaking, and I think in general we're losing our 3 activation. I want to see what they give us for that change, because that's a pretty harsh change, honestly, as a Sorcerer Kings player. They did say the next update would be all related to city-states and Nords, I think. The next preview article, I should say, not overall update. Overall updates for everyone. We know Nords, they're changing some different units. City-states, we know they're trying to flex that the command stack or strategic stack does more. I don't care to play city-states personally. I can't play every army. I wish... I do kind of want this. I just have too much on my painting backlog to pick something up for just the sole purpose of painting it. I will state, though, if you do like this model, pick it up. This one is 100% going to sell out. Because I know, and there's 995 of them is all they're making. I know there's a lot of people who won't play the army, but would absolutely pick this thing up because of how great it looks. I said, I just got a lot of things to paint. So one of them is going to be the Unhollowed Supplicer when it comes out. So they are changing the name. This is essentially the Profane Sepulchre. They have altered it a little bit. It essentially comes in 2 forms. We have that one. And instead we have the Therocrator. So the guy on top screaming about how, actually I think they mentioned, from Fallen Divinity, independence from a Fallen Divinity. They also mentioned this thing is going to have Vanguard, just so it can fit on the board because of how long it is. They're not showing us the base, but taking a look at that bottom, this width across, as best we can tell, say maybe across here, looks to be about a base wide. That means front to back, it might be the better part of 2 bases long. Maybe not, but taking a look at it, and I know that it's hard to tell the scale, but if you're saying that you need to give it Vanguard to fit on the board, I can't imagine it's going to fit very nicely onto that base. So this thing looks like an absolute monster. We don't know what the Theocrator does. The Unhollowed Sepulcher, it's getting an alteration. It needs the Profane Sepulcher is an awesome idea, and its rules are pretty garbage tier. When we just looked at the new Spires model, Terafon, there's a support piece that supports in a variety of ways and can still do some of its own good, and you see how support works. For this, okay, let's say they still give it the ability that it hurts itself to do abilities. Nice. Make those abilities better, because right now, they weren't really that good. 36 wounds sounds impressive until you're seeing that you're going to have to spend, a good amount of your wounds to get anything useful out of it. And let's also be honest, 36 wounds isn't really that insane in this game. Yes, you don't resolve, so it helps. But if I had to start burning 4 or 5 wounds a turn just to get useful abilities, I'm actually going to run through those wounds a lot faster than you think. Unless this thing is crazy buffed, or who knows what it's going to look like. But very interested in this. Absolutely love to see it. It looks like the tops are rather different. So my hope is that there's a way just to kind of go back and forth between the two. At least I'm going to try, because I don't want to have to get 2 of them. We're going to talk some Dwight. So, for Old Dominion, they also mentioned how things like Mori are going to lose a little bit of their spelling abilities. I think probably the same thing for the Cares, and we're going to see what else we get. For Dwight, they have the Lost and the Found, and what they found apparently was guns. So they talk about how these are the ones who actually make it to War's prison, and they were thought to be gone, and then the other ones come back. I'm not always huge on Dwight designs. I'm not really a big dwarf fan. I do think these designs are really nice. I like the fact that it is essentially pipes connecting to make a face and all like that. I do think these are actually really good for Dwight models. I really like them. More shooting is not something I necessarily wanted for more Dwight, but we know Dwight needs some help. Unfortunately, they're not getting really much now because they're getting their change in like July, though we knew that. And then they get an artisan series. So there's either the guy or the totem and the spirit coming out. That answers that actually is a very good look. Again, these sort of ones I look, maybe it's because it's the early Dwight stuff I don't like. Maybe the later stuff I really do. But some of the early ones when you had like the steel shaper and just weird feet and all. No. They did mention how for dice, they are now going to be introducing some of their own dice in different spots to help avoid tariffs, if that's a thing when all this stuff comes out. And everyone's getting objective markers. I didn't actually pick any up yet. I do want to pick them because I think on camera they come up better. They're good quality. I do like them overall. If you do need some objectives, they're quite nice. They're polypropylene instead of neoprene. I personally am liking a little bit more neoprene personally, but hey, you're getting the symbols that you like, so I'll probably go for just the plain one, or I don't know if the store has your only one sitting around right now. All right, so that was the catalog. We get to see the new stuff. Good amount of people getting some new stuff. We got to see some of the updates. They've put out some information now for a few of the factions. We know we're waiting on a few more. So briefly, okay, so what do we do now while we wait? One, we look and salivate at all the new rules, or I will be honest, I try to avoid the Discord when stuff like this is happening until everything is out, because I don't want the sky is falling or everything is unbelievably too great or amazing, or that back and forth of it, because we don't know. What I've seen of the Warrun Changes, I think are pretty good. Will they be enough? We haven't played the game. We don't know the rest of everything they do. So I think it's too early to say that for sure. But you go into the spot, you're going to have some people telling you how, it's all doom and gloom, or they didn't do enough, and, I guess the meta is still going to be this, that, or the other thing. Let's wait until we see it all. Keep in mind that when you're talking about talking about an alteration by itself is meaningless in every way, unless that is literally the only thing done. Okay, they changed Warrun. Hey, do they do enough? I don't know, but I don't know what they did to everyone else yet. We technically maybe know the most about Warrun. We know a good amount about Spires. We don't know if there's going to be more. I mean, maybe there isn't. I don't know. They're still calling it a preview. But I don't know for every other faction, which means I can't judge if this is enough until I know what everyone else has. If everyone else, say for instance, anyone else who's below the curve got pushed up and they're pushed down a bit, now the difference is much smaller. Were they pushed down? Yes. We'll find out in the future what that actually means. So what do you do now while you wait? Personally, what I do is I'm trying to catch up on my painting. Off to the side, I have a desk full of models. In the front of my house, I have a bunch of models. Upstairs, I have a bunch of models. I have all kinds of things to paint. I have done all the Ironi I have currently, except for my Kami. I just got busy and haven't felt like going back to paint them lately because I've been playing a bunch of Oblivion as well. Because that game is fun. It reminds me of my childhood. Or at least younger time. I don't remember exactly how old I was at the time, but younger at least. I mean, nostalgia is a legitimate thing. There is a distinction between is something good, which don't get me wrong, I do think it is actually good. But there is also something to say that we look fondly upon things in our past when life was both easier, potentially, some people might have bad childhoods, but we often look back to the time of when we had more time, more freedom in certain ways, when, you know, you look forward to the summer. It's the same reason. Why do we like summer so much? As short of the people who love to go and bake on the beach. We love summer, to a large extent, people who do, I think, because we enjoy the time when we were younger and we had summers off and summer vacation and trips and all of that, where it was, you know, it was the time away from school. It was more of our free time. Because, I don't know, I think spring or fall is better. The weather, at least I feel, is personally better, but I don't know. Think as you will about all those sorts of things. But one thing I do when I'm waiting for rules update is I will look through them. I do look at them a grain of salt. Like I said, for those Warrun ones, I'm personally not going to look through all the little bits so closely for the moment because I don't know everything yet. I try to stay very even keel about it. I try to trust that they're going to do a decent job because I think Parabellum has. I don't think all companies do, and I'm not going to get into which companies do not. I think we all know companies that do not. But I think they do a decent job, so I'm not really worried about what they're going to do. Does that mean at the absolute top level, we're going to see a lot of change? Maybe we won't. But you know what? I'm not worried about, like, you know, the absolute peak of competitiveness. I just want a good game that if we're going to go to the table, that we're going to be able to play what we want, and it's going to feel okay. That's the level of balance I care about. And if your stuff is just way too good, we can have that discussion, but, you know, maybe try to avoid having too much of a concern there. Or like, oh, you know, here is this ultra competitive list and it beats all the other ultra competitive lists. All right, well, I won't play that. You don't play that. Let's just go play some other stuff. Unless this is a tournament where we're going to get some super cool prize. If instead you just want to make yourself feel like the big man on campus, I don't care. You have the win. I'm going to go just do something else. So I paint. I try not to, I look, but I try not to get too invested in rules until I know it all. Other things while waiting, I try to play weird stuff. So everything's going to change. So my current list that I built for my old Dominion uses the Zilliarch as my warlord because I never run him. I like the Strategos better, or I take Fallen Divinity. Okay, so I run that. What kind of weird stuff can I run? What is stuff I haven't touched in a while? What are some ideas that, I don't know if I would run this because all of the meta is going to change anyway. So just run wherever you feel like. So I will try to run weird stuff. I will try to experiment with different units. I have had at some points, especially with the Ironi, when we know a few of the updates, so we know one thing, the brutes are, so pretty much everything, but the brutes are getting an extra wound. Yeah, they probably needed it. You know what? The next time I play a game, I'm probably just going to put an extra wound on everyone to get a feel of what that does, if nothing else. That's the main stuff I do. Or if you play other games, try those out as well. I understand for at least for the next like 12 days, or depending on when exactly you see this, or exactly when I put it out, for the next while, you might be less incentivized to play. Or, you know what? I know First Blood's getting some updates. I don't play a whole lot of First Blood. Maybe I go back and play that. I know in our local area, we're doing some other stuff. We actually just started a Trench Crusade campaign. Like I said, I'm playing a bunch of Oblivion as well. So between that and painting, maybe I do take a week or two off from playing a bunch of games. But if I'm going to play, yeah, I'm going to play weird stuff. I'm going to try to do some, I don't know if I want to use the words off meta picks, but stuff I wouldn't either naturally do or run with characters I don't normally do, or just try something different, get away from my tournament lists. Because for each faction, I have 1 to 2 tournament lists. I do not play those. You know, when we're waiting for an update, I try everything that isn't them. Because it don't matter what happens. Unfortunately, I think I'm going to miss a tournament at Wargamers Guild right as this update happens. I think it happens afterwards, but I don't think I'm free that particular Saturday. But I think this is going to motivate me to host a tournament I usually host it at Maplewood Hobby, probably, if not May, June. I don't know if I'll be able to get one in May. I had to look at my calendar, but I'm going to definitely host one then, because once these updates are out, I want to give them a test drive. All right, so I think that's enough talking about the updates for now. We are going to get some more updates. When we get some more, I'll probably let them accumulate for a day or two, and then talk about it more. Well, the other thing I do when I'm waiting for this is I have a weird time with content. The weird time is I don't know certain things I want to make videos. I know things I want to do videos on. But if I say it now, like units, I can't talk about any units because it's all going to change. I was going to make a video talking about cavalry, but I probably want to wait until we have all the rules. What happens if they change something? What happens if I say some particular aspect and it turns out that greatly alters? As far as I know, that's not going to happen, but I'd really hate to go through the process, put it out, and then a week or two after it's done, it is garbage. You might as well just redo it. Same thing for that learn to play video. I want to make sure they don't do any base rules changes before I release that. So once that's out, I'm going to make sure it actually gets finalized. I've just been busy with a bunch of other stuff, as well as some other things. So ideas like this, some other things I wanted to do. I wanted to do a video actually on balance, not necessarily in this game, just in general, and how we don't want balance. So that I'm currently, actually tomorrow morning, giving an exam. So I'm probably going to sit down and write that out, what my plan is for that, and try to get that recorded. So for the next 2 weeks, you're probably going to get some odd content. Not necessarily odd, but Conquest or Conquest adjacent stuff, as well as some other things that I'm trying to work on. But once we have this in our hands, I want to say the 12th, was that a Monday? Monday or Tuesday? I think it's a Tuesday. No, it's a Monday. Oh yeah, it's the second and last day of finals. So I get home pretty early that day. I'm probably going to sit down that day when we have it and record almost every faction that day and release them over the next several days. That's my plan. So in the meantime, I'm going to try to do some other stuff while we wait for all of that. All right. But on the YouTube comments below, let me know what models that you're picking up for any of this new stuff or any of the other pre-order things. What are you picking up? What are you waiting on? What are you hoping changes rules-wise? What haven't we seen, or what is worrying you that you have seen? So they talked about all the factions a little bit, so we know some of the details or some of the vague ideas, but we're starting to see some of them now. And we know Gold Tier going down a little bit, Fenrir probably going up a little bit. We know Bow Chosen going up a little bit. Who knows what else is going to happen? All right, well, on behalf of everyone in the show, then, have a good hobbying and some great gaming.